All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast. This is Moose along with Mays and Matthews on this post-players week. We are sponsored by Draftkings Sportsbook and All Access. We will talk a little bit more about that, especially with our next guest. And Harry and Danielle, you guys know I am an astute observer, right? Not much gets past me. And when we were talking to our guest before we hopped on, I was sensing an accent. And I know it's not that annoying Ohio accent that Ryan Gano has, because that I couldn't do that in multiple shows. I don't know if it's Delaware County or maybe South Jersey, but let's bring our guest in and you guys can hear for yourself. We welcome Roy Clarke, International Operations Manager at All Access, coming to us from where, Roy?
We're in Enniscrone, County Sligo.
All right, there we go. Well, welcome to Swing It and Ding It. We are thrilled to have you. As we talked about before, we talk about the golf journey a lot on this podcast, and yours is pretty incredible. So sometimes we start at the beginning of that. Sometimes we start at the end of that. Let's start at the end, and then we'll go backwards. Let's talk about what you're doing now with All Access, who we just partnered up with. Make sure you head to our Instagram. Link is in the bio for a special portal that will get you access and opportunities with the great folks at All Access. So talk about how that all happened and what you're doing with those guys now.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So it's I have a couple of chapters in my life story at the moment. This being one of them, which I'm really, really enjoying. So I look after all international operations for All Access, and that entails looking after England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Australia, Spain, South Africa, and which is a big. Golf travel in the States is quite big. We receive a lot of thousands of Americans over to Ireland every year, and they're just so well welcomed here, every corner of Ireland. But I met my now boss, who's a friend, is Ryan Gano, and actually on a golf trip. So I caddied on tour for 12 years. I did 9 years on the LPGA Tour, working for players like Siri Pack, Jessica Korda, Minjee Lee. The PGA Tour then, Harry Hall, did a few loops with Paul McGinley and Rian Gibson. But I drove golf tours in Ireland for a company here in Ireland called Kerry Coaches, and they do all the golf tours in Ireland. And I was actually saving for my wedding, so I was trying to fill in my off weeks from caddying with doing some driving. And whoever's in the back, I'd tell them stories, sing them songs, and tell them the history of Ireland, and bring them to quirky places along the road, a bit off the beaten track. And one guy showed up, and it's Ryan Gano, and he was the guy up front with his father-in-law, Kerry Fraser, who's the ice hockey referee. Yep. I'm not sure to say famous or infamous, but those two guys together are just Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So we hit it off quite well, and we stayed in contact for 4 or 5 years. So when I was ever in the Northwest, when I was in the Northeast or around Philly area, I would always meet up at Ryan or stay in his house, and he became a good friend. So I now have 3 kids under 5. And caddying was becoming difficult with the travel, being on the road for 4 or 5 weeks at a time. Ryan offered me this job 2 or 3 years ago, and I was happy what I was doing on tour. I love caddying, and I love the psychology of it. I love the strategy of it, but it was taking its toll on personal life. So Ryan offered me the job again, so I jumped at it with 2 hands, and that's where I am today. So really enjoying it. It's nice to be part of golf still, and it's nice to be part of golf in my home country, showing visitors what it's all about.
Danielle?
Oh, sorry. I saw the point. I thought you were pointing at Moose. So you're talking about All Access and these trips that you arrange. If I contact you and I'm like, hey, this is a course that I want to go to, what do you supplement that with? Like you said, you'll sing a song, you'll show them a pub. Like, what does that all entail? Tell me, like, what all goes into the planning of a trip and what you get with All Access.
I suppose what you do get with All Access, what makes it very different is that I suppose I'm a qualified. I'm actually another feather to my hat would be I'm a qualified national tour guide in Ireland, and getting into this job, I wanted to know more and more and more. But Ireland's a small country, but it's not easy to get around. There's a lot of different places and different regions and so forth. But with All Access is that with expertise on the ground, when you land into Ireland, it's easy to put together. I wouldn't say easy, but like putting golf course and hotels and transportation, that's the easier part. It's just trying to spice up the itinerary is, I think where a bit of expertise comes in. So we try to tack on, we're all about experience. We're all about like, going back and say, hey man, you remember we did this and we did that, and things like what I used to do with driving golf tours, and what we do put on these golf tours these days is, for instance, when we get to, let's just say Lahinch, when we're playing Lahinch or Doonbeg, I'll bring the guys up to the cliffs of Moher, which are these 750-foot cliffs. And the next stop is America. What I do is I get the boys to bring up 2 or 3 drivers and a handful of balls or whatever, and we'll just start hitting balls off the cliff, and the hang time could be 15-20 seconds. So just things like that. Or we'll always tack on maybe clay pigeon shooting or fishing for salmon on the fly. We'll visit some castles. There's a really cool thing that we tack on is that in Bunratty, so it's in between Adair and Shannon Airport, Bunratty Castle is a 13th century castle owned by the O'McNamaras. But what they do is quite cool. In the evenings, they do medieval banquets, and they'll dress up in medieval Viking gear. You sit on a big long table and you eat with your hands. So you eat turkey legs and so forth and potatoes, but there's all the Irish music and song and dance around you. So just
the full experience.
It's a full experience. So, but then when we get to Dublin, we bring them to the Guinness whiskey or the Guinness factory where Arthur Guinness started, and we do walking tours around Dublin, food tours. We really want to get to know our clients. We ask them a lot of questions and where their interest lies, and then we'll match the itinerary then accordingly. Some people want to go down the ancestry route. A lot of Irish went to America in the 1840s because of the famine here and the potato failure, and they want to go back and see their roots or certain towns, and we'll stop by and we'll knock on a door, or we'll do some homework before they get here to maybe try meet an ancestor in a bar and have a pint of Guinness with them, and just connecting the dots a bit, so
truly all access.
Yeah. Is it a requirement for a caddy over there to be a tour guide too? Because it seems like that's a bigger part of the job than actually carrying the bag and showing you, where to hit it.
I suppose, and that's what I say. Like we always push caddies on our clients, and it's because like they're not just caddies here in Ireland. It's a different. Caddies in America are kind of like, they're not members of the golf courses. They turn up and shut up and keep up. Where in Ireland, like these guys are members of the golf courses. They have their full-time job. So I always say, like, the caddies in Ireland, they're comedians, they're meteorologists, they're psychologists, they're storytellers. The last thing they do is actually probably clean your ball, and sometimes they miss that a lot too. They're telling you where to go, who to ask for, and sometimes they'll actually even bring them back to the homestead, and like their grandmother could be known locally for her famous bread and jam, and they'll give them the bread and they'll give them the jam and so forth. And a lot of caddies do connect with a lot of our clients, and they stay in contact. And when they go to the States, they meet them, so cool. It's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So Roy, we're seeing more and more access now with the caddy and golfer interaction, especially with PGA Tour Live and all the cameras and Netflix with full swing. You talked about some of the players, and obviously they are quite different with quite different personalities. Can you talk about that a little bit, right? Because sometimes guys are, hey, I'm going to read the line for you, or Wyndham's caddy, I'm going to stand up and show you what you're going to look like when you're taking this putt. And then some guys seem to be a little bit of a different role. And I know that's all the interaction with that player, but talk about just like through your career with caddying for different people, what role you played for some of them and how that kind of translated back and forth.
Good question, because some players, you do absolutely everything but hit the shot. And the next player just there just to tag along and tell a few jokes and, have fun and just give the basic information. I suppose I'll go from one level to another. I worked for Sari Pak for 4 years, towards the end of her career. And, Sari Pak has won it all. She's the Queen of Korea. She's why there's a lot of Koreans on the LPGA Tour these days. Sari Pak was a legend. She was the nicest person ever to work with. She called me Loy because Korea, they can't pronounce or. So she called me Loy. So, you should hear her try to say Rory McIlroy. That's a different kind of So she was awesome. Like, you're always guaranteed, whether it was we missed the cut on a Friday, we're always going for a beer. Sunday we'd always go for a beer. She was awesome. Very little information, neat required, and she was a very clever, intelligent golfer. So very little to be done there. On the opposite scale, I worked for Harry Hall, who's my last bag, and probably for a reason. He used a I suppose, have you heard Decade?
Yeah.
Decade
course management system, right?
Yeah, so we use Decade. So basically, his driver dispersion was 64 yards off the tee. So he wanted to know exactly what was from out of bounds to the middle of the fairway and so forth. And
Mathematician then.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a formula. So trying to figure an approach out for Harry Hall was a minefield. So basically, I'll give you a quick example. 200 yards, pin is back left, 5 yards off the back, 5 yards from the left. He got 10% of the pin number, which was 10. So it was a formula where the ball actually landed. So if the wind increased above 10 miles an hour, you add 1 yard. If it was soft, you minus 1 yard. And then you grade around the green. So if it was really difficult up and down, you add 3. So all of a sudden, to be 5 yards left of the pin and 5 yards behind, it could end up being, adding the wind and the softness of the green. You could end up, hitting away from the pin 8 yards right, 8 yards short of a pin. So everything was a formula, and it took the natural caddying out of it. It just became a formula. And then when we got to the putting green, I had to do a test every Wednesday. So he would chuck down a tee and he'd have a digital spirit level. I'd have to feel with my feet exactly which was it. It was broke down to measurement. So it was degrees. So if it was 1.5 right to left, I'd have to be able to feed that within 0.5 of a degree. And I did a test on it every Wednesday, chuck down a tee, we do 20 reads. And if I was 15 or below, I didn't read putts that week.
Wow.
So I fed myself constantly, training my feet. To train your feet, then I had to wear the exact same pair of shoes every day. Same insoles, same pair of socks. That's not to say I wore the same pair of shoes. When I bought a pair of shoes, I bought 3 and 4 pairs. When I bought socks, I bought 20 pairs of socks. Because if I put on your shoes, if I put on your shoes, I would get a different reading. So it was intense. It was very analytical, and it took out the fun of caddy, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So is it safe to say you don't practice decade golf now if you're looping at all?
I don't. No, I don't. It just takes the blood out of it. But it's funny on the LPGA Tour caddying. It's funny in that a lot of caddies hook up with players. A lot of them get married. A lot of them get together because they don't see many guys, right? But men's and women are more demanding. Men are
shocker. Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that blows me away.
With guys, you can take.
Wait, when you say more demanding, demanding of what? Like you taking their club, giving them reads, or just demanding and being be here, do this, do that. Elaborate on the demanding.
Off course stuff, packing up the golf bag every Sunday, taking the golf bag. They nearly expect you to travel with their golf bag, as part of the requirement. But
really.
Yeah, it's just I suppose they kind of cared about things more off the course than on the course to a certain extent. But no, LPGA is a blast. It's a really fun tour. It's a really it's a worldwide tour rather than an American tour. I feel the PGA Tour is American, and that's what kind of like.
Well, it sounds from your experience that there's more in common between Harry Hall and Bryson DeChambeau than just the hat. I mean, they're very analytical, both of them. The one thing that blows me away, and I haven't had many experiences with great caddies. I've had a handful, and it's really, registered with me. I just can't figure out how you guys figure out within a first hole how far I'm going to hit my 7-iron and what, because that's, how do you guys do that?
No, it's a lot easier because of TrackMan. So you can put in the elevation on TrackMan and it gives you the adjusted number. Where this was very difficult one year is that we played up in the Broadmoor in Colorado.
Oh, yeah, the altitude.
Yeah, so I was caddying for Sari Pack in the Broadmoor. And it was so unusual because if you hit a 5-iron, it was, just say she carried this 5-iron 170. And the Broadmoor is going 182, 183. So it's 13-yard difference. But with the pitch wedge and the wedges, it went further. So it was hard. So it wasn't the 5% rule just didn't work for every club. Caddying has got easier with numbers for sure, because in TrackMan, it tells you with temperature as well, calculates all your distances. You set the distance, you set the temperature, and then you just take your numbers for that week. So the art of caddying is diminishing. As you see with the PGA Tour, it's a lot more buddies, a lot more college teammates on the bags these days because it's more for friendship. Yeah. The old style caddy who hangs up in the bars and smokes cigarettes on the golf course and has been around this course for 20 and 30 years, those are slowly being fading out.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy, like he's caddy Harry Diamond was an exceptional golfer. Harry Diamond has won many amateur events in Ireland. He was always they were best buddies or best man at each other's wedding. And I wonder, like, if Harry wasn't on the bag, would Rory have won more majors if he had somebody faster on the bag or Bones on the bag? I know that's another debate.
Yeah. Well, some of your history also was being a caddy in some of these international events like the Solheim Cup. And it always intrigues me when you're watching it because the caddy is not necessarily from the home country, right? You look at Ricky Elliott on Brooks's bag. It's like, how do you kind of compartmentalize that where you have national pride, right? But also this is your person and you have to have their back. Like, how do you manage that?
You just got to go with it. Like, who's paying your wages that week? When I worked for Jessica Corda, my last Solemn Cup was in 2019. That was in Glen Eagles in Scotland, and I was on the American team. And the captain that year was Julie Inkster. And Julie is awesome. And myself and another international caddy, his name was Ollie. He worked for Daniel Kang that year. And he's had some success there. But I feel you just got to get into it. It's stars and stripes, and it's, God bless our troops, and, God bless America.
I like the
little apple pie and a bald eagle. You're good to go.
To be honest, I'm probably get in trouble for this, but I actually had more fun on the American team than I actually had my times on the European team.
We won't tell.
Yeah. No, it's just I suppose Europe. The girls are growing up in Europe, Spain, Ireland. They didn't really play in many teams together, whereas the US teams, they have played on teams together with, Curtis Cup or Walker Cup, or they've always been together. But definitely there is that definitely divide with the Europeans are more closer than the Americans, personally. And I find that because when the Europeans head over to go to school in the States, they stick together. Whereas in the States, they don't. They can have their friends and so forth.
Well, I've seen that you played 55 of the world's top 100 courses. I got to ask you, Royal County Down or Royal Portrush? What's higher on the list for you?
For me, it's Royal County Down.
Yeah.
And why so? I'm a big fan of Harry Cole, but I find is that the Harry Cole, he tilts the fairways in Royal County Down, which it brings strategy into it a lot more than Portrush, I feel. His lines off the tee are look very difficult, but when you get out onto the fairways and you look back, he disguises a lot of sand dunes and hollows and stuff like that. The bearded bunkers are a lovely feature in Royal County Down. And I just love the backdrop more in Royal County Down. Like if you stand on, if you hit your drive off the 9th hole and you're walking up the fairway, there's a 65-foot drop with the clubhouse in the background, the Slieve Donard Hotel, and then the Mourne Mountains in the background. It's one of those pictures in golf where it's just glorious.
Breathtaking. Yeah,
absolutely. So you talked about you mentioned Rory. My golf partners are like Harry and Greeny. You've played with some different caliber players coming up, and we know you're close with Seamus Power. But talk about some of the guys coming up that you've played with or against over in Ireland.
I've been fortunate, I suppose, in my era that I grew up playing in amateur events with Rory McIlroy, who would be 3-4 years younger than I was. But so Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, Seamus Power, and then a couple of guys who were actually better than these guys, but actually never made it. But getting back to Rory McIlroy, my first time ever coming across McIlroy was when I was 14 years of age. It was the west of Ireland in a place called Sligo Golf Course. It's one of the 4 big amateur events every year. And he was very, very short. He had cut down MP33s, the tightest K drive with a yellow shaft, and super cocky, like just super cocky. But that weared off pretty quickly. Like he was a born winner. He showed up to like an Irish amateur at 14 years of age, intending to win it, not just to make the cut. He was the winner. Like whereas I was rocking up, I was just in awe that I got into the event, and if I made the cut, brilliant. If I didn't, I didn't expect it. But Rory, I know I hold Rory in a pedestal. I think he's one of the most professional athletes, not just golf, but in all sports. But Shane Lowry then he's your journeyman, right? Like he got lucky. obviously he's backed it up now with his talent, but he played the East of Ireland, which is in County Louth, and he won as an amateur and then got his status on the European Tour. But what I love about Ireland is that Darren Clarke has we pay great homage to Darren Clarke, because if you win an underage event in Ireland, you go to the Darren Clarke School of Excellence, or it's a weekend away. He brings the top girls and the top boys to Portrush every year, and he gives them Scotty Cameron putters, he gives you memorabilia, he gives you all clothing and so forth. But you get to spend 2 or 3 days, and there's workshops, and you play a couple of holes with him, and there's talks and strategy and course management. And he spotted Rory McIlroy when he was 12 years of age, and Chubby was Darren Clarke's manager back then. He's like,
Chubby Chandler.
Chubby, we got to set this kid up. So what worked out great, I'm not sure too many people know this, but Rory was always destined to be pro, but he actually signed up to go to East Tennessee University. And it came to a few weeks out to go to school, and Rory's manager came and said, he ain't going to school. He's too good to go to school. He's gone pro. Chubby was getting him big invites into European Tour events. But because Rory gave up his scholarship, Seamus Power took Rory's scholarship.
Wow.
So if Rory didn't drop out, where would Seamus Power be today?
Right.
Yeah, it's a great fun fact.
So, but yeah, I think golf is in our blood in Ireland. I always say this, I don't mean to sound bad, but like in America, it's a rich person's game. It's a real, you can pay 300, 400, 500 grand to get into a golf course. In Ireland, it's a very medium class game. I feel like 75% of all households in Ireland have a set of golf course, or have a set of golf clubs. So everybody plays, golf is cheap. My dues in a private club in the city, $1,800 a year. Some of you guys are paying that a month.
Oh yeah.
At least
we got to move to Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready.
We'll start with the all access trip.
Yeah.
So it's your blood.
I am ready. Yeah.
So we talked a lot about Ireland golf. Obviously, us being a Philadelphia Northeast-based podcast, we always like to ask your experience within the Philadelphia region, and if you have played there, your favorite golf courses.
I unfortunately haven't played much in your region, to be honest with you. I was
got to yell at Ryan for that, I think.
I know.
Yes.
I was supposed to play in Pine Valley actually last October. My buddy Aaron, who I grew up playing with, Aaron is the assistant coach in Wake Forest, and he's there's a big donor there who was supposed to take us out, but he got injured, and we were supposed to play there. But I think it's going to happen this year, please God. But I've played Galloway National, played Seaview in Galloway.
That's right next to Galloway. Yeah.
Yeah, if I never see that again, I'll be happy. Those bloody greenbacks, they just bite through your shirt. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it depends on what time of year you play.
The flies, yeah.
You got to find out what the cat. I always go into the pro shop and say, "What kind of bug spray are you using today?" The caddies, and then I used what they're using for sure. How about cricket? Philly cricket. Did Ryan get you out to Philly Cricket Club? His home base.
Cricket. Hopefully I get there this year.
Wow.
But, I played Aronimick.
Okay.
For Christmas. One of the guys who works in All Access, he's a member in Aronimick. So that was a lovely experience. It's a real Northeast country club.
Yeah. Old school.
Old school, get that vibe, which I love that as well. It's not casual at all. It's kind of a bit stuffy,
Mm-hmm.
But a hell of a course. Like I know the PGA Championship is there in 2026.
Yeah.
But that's a big boys course. It's I don't think I've put it on greens any faster in all my life.
It's good stuffy.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny, like our old school compared to Roy's old school is totally different.
Totally different.
Right? It's
Light
like
years.
the clubs over here love putting their year on it, and it's like some of the courses that you take folks to with All Access. It's like take 100 off of that, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Roy, listen, we really appreciate the time. We know you're running around, and I have to say, you're from the Cork area. Is that right?
Yeah. So I live there, Kinsale. So the nearest course I suppose known to you guys would be the Old Head. If you've never seen the Old Head, please look up some images of it. It's spectacular.
Now, it's interesting because I have a couple of friends from the Cork area, and I say Watt a lot. when they talk. But you must it must be all the time you spent in the States that I don't have to say, huh? What'd you say?
Can you repeat that?
I live near actually the Jameson distillery, which makes all the Jameson for the worldwide distribution. So they turn water into liquid gold down there. So we always pay a visit to there quite regularly to get the new and reserves and the new Middletons and so forth. But yes, if you're about, let us know.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, make sure you check out All Access. This is the kind of service you're going to get when you talk about firsthand knowledge and information and making a true golf experience. Head to the link in our bio on Instagram for a special portal, which has different options, and the guys will reach right back out to you and get it done. Roy, really appreciate it. We know your golf journey is not over, so we look forward to having you back on when you're getting ready to write that book.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. I mean, I wish I can get this guy to come over and read stories to my kids to get them to settle down. Like, it's just so different when you talk to these guys, man. Like we said in the break, like how bad do you want to go over there now? I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting over there for the Ryder Cup, but. We talked about it, right? But I think it was important to have Roy on because we could say it all we want, what All Access does and how different it is. But when you hear it from him,
we can't say it like he says it.
No. And he's like, the caddy is like, if his grandmother makes the best bread and jam, like he's going to bring you back to the house. It's those experiences that you can't get if you're going online and just saying, hey, we're going to fly here, here, and here. Like,
right.
Yeah. I mean, and you could tell, right? Listen, could they get you out to the Masters or out to the, Phoenix Open 100%? It'll be the best trip you've ever had. But I think where they really separate themselves is there, right? And I think that's Ryan's passion. I know that from talking to him. Like, it's different when you go there and, and it's cool because it's like you might have guys that like want to play 36 every day. They want to see every golf course. Then you have some guys that might be like, hey, listen, I'm going to play around today, but I want to see stuff, right? I might not get back over here. Like I want
to go to the distillery
and
the Cliffs of Moher. Like,
cliffs.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Whacking driver off of that? I'd probably hit the side of the cliff and come back and hit somebody. I would have zero hang time, maybe.
No, give yourself some credit.
I'd have to hit some top.
We'll give you a mulligan.
Oh yeah.
Top flights are noodles only.
No Pro Vs off there.
No, you can't do that.
I have enough scratch Pro Vs from hitting the cart path. I'll use those.
That's good. That's a good.
I have plenty of those
little shag bags.
So I hate the. I've never been a fan of like the fifth major. But man, if the players didn't feel that big like a major, I mean, it was incredible, right? And we've talked about Scotty Scheffler so much. First player to actually defend it, overcome a 5-stroke deficit, goes 8 under 64. And in the past 8 days, he has won $8.5 million. That's $1.062 million per round. That is, I believe, $15,000 to $17,000 per shot he has made. And man, has he deserved it. Harry, he scared me away. The number wasn't bad. When I saw the neck injury, I'm like, man, I want to take him. But I think he scared a lot of people away. But he did. He scared a lot of competitors away, too.
Yeah, I think I wonder how many people were like you that were a little apprehensive to jump in live once they start seeing the masseuse on the golf course trying to rub out that neck issue.
The K-tape and an X on the back.
Yeah, you could see the K-tape sticking out of the shirt. But they have a saying. It's like, beware the injured golfer. And this was the best example of it. And you saw when he finished birdie on Saturday, you're starting to think like, wow, he's how many back? Because that's when you see that guy in your rearview mirror right now, it's like, man, he's closer than the object looks in the mirror. Because
you're nervous. You're like a cop's following me.
Right. You're going, man, I'm going to screw up here. But it took until the 4th hole until he made that eagle, pitch in from 92 yards and had the side spin and went right in the hole. And from then on, he just went on an unbelievable stretch, including that hole. He went 7 under par on a 9-hole stretch between 4 and 12. And just put the accelerator through the floorboard. And then it was about other guys making mistakes because they knew like, oh boy, he's right here with me or he's one ahead or whatever. And then they start messing up. Xander made bogey on 14 and 15. And that really kind of cinched his
and the bearded Scotty is more threatening.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
The unbearded Scotty would still be scared, but you're intimidated by the bearded Scotty.
No question about it. And then Harmon, who's not scared of anybody, I don't think. I love watching that guy play golf when it really matters. I mean, he makes a bogey at 6, then he birdies 4 of his next 5 holes, and all of a sudden he makes birdie at 15 to get to 19 under, but he couldn't birdie the 16th hole. He hit that driver into the pine straw. And then had to lay up and just missed a long putt.
Kept seeing that too, right? You saw Xander do it. It's like, how the heck are they hitting it where they could possibly go in that? It like they know, like, I mean, I know where they're aiming and how they have to do it, but man, you knew that. I mean, the history all week was that if you're in there, you're not going to be precise, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't get your footing, and like Harman and Xander, the ball just rolled in, like
especially
maybe
Xander.
3
I'm like,
yards.
this goal was set up for Xander, and I was like, there, and I'm like, what? I'm like, how? Why? Like.
Yeah.
Right. And then Xander missed a 21-foot putt for eagle on 16.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the 7.5 foot for birdie on 17, missed that. So he had chances, and he comes up 2 feet short on a 60-foot birdie putt on the 18th hole. So, I mean, it was like every hole he had a chance.
I was stressed for all these guys watching it. Like, you guys know I'm a fan of Chef, but like Wyndham, like everyone, I'm just like on edge. Like it was a great golf.
I mean,
broadcast coverage.
How about that was the 13th runner-up for Xander?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For Xander. And I'll tell you what, that lip out, I was in a house full of people for my daughter's birthday. The noise I let out, everybody was like, because no one else was watching but me.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, was that a lip out? An all-timer.
Right.
I was In-N-Out Burger. I was like,
and that was after making birdie on 16 and 17. Think about that finish.
Yeah.
If he makes that, he forces a playoff, having birdied the final 3 holes. I mean, that's a playoff I wanted to see.
Oh,
I mean, forget about me having Wyndham in fantasy. I just wanted to see a playoff.
More golf.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how much they were going to get in. I mean, it was they were warning guys at some point.
And I think it's a 3-hole aggregate playoff, 16,
16,
17, and 18. And then if they're tied, I guess they go back to 18.
Can you imagine playing 17 in a playoff?
Oh, Ricky did it.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I know. That's why I wanted that putt. Listen, I love Scheffler. I was rooting for him, but I wanted that putt to go in so bad just to see a playoff go to 17.
I was a little upset though when they showed Chef, like they replayed. They're like, "Did you see the putt?" And he's like, "No." And they replayed it, and I thought he was going to be like how you and I reacted, like, "Oh." He was like, "Yeah, that's tough." And I'm like,
There's another one of these finding out on the range wins, which the difference between finding out on the range and sinking that putt for the win. It's such a different. I mean, it's the same money, it's the same trophy, but it just feels so different when they don't get that chance to like fist pump on the green or
or people to run out, the caddies to run out, anything like that. You hear the roar, like and then they were like like he probably was like, shh. Oh, okay, we're good.
And even as a fan, I don't know about you guys, but like I so much rather see a guy make a putt to win than miss a putt for the other guy to win. It's just sort of like, because you know what, missing a putt, that doesn't even matter for a $10. It's
so we talked about it before. There's 3 ways to win. There's the you sinking the putt to win. There's the guy you're playing with missing the putt for you to win, or you're on the range and you win. Right. And there's levels of excitement and experience, I think, that go with those. I'm sure.
Or walking down 18 with a 4-shot lead or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Like
last
Scotty did last year.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt about
it. But there's so many other, bits of Players Champion history that Scotty claimed this week. Obviously, the purse. But bogey-free 8 under 64 matches the lowest score shot by a winner in the 50 editions of the event.
Wow.
He's the first to rally from 5 shots back of the lead on the final day, and he ties a record for the biggest comeback at the tournament since it moved to Sawgrass in '83.
Man.
And a Sunday 64, won him the title for the second straight year. So first back-to-back. So quite a couple different little bits of history that he took home. You guys mentioned his earnings. What about Ted Scott? I think Roy would like his job, right? I don't know what he's made so far this year, but since getting on Chef's bag in 2021, he's made an estimated, without bonus, just like the typical caddy cut, $4,669,281.
It's a good gig.
Jeez.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. And I love
Harry,
how
Harry, there's two jobs that we're telling you. You could either be the beer taster for Guinness or chef's caddy. These are two prime opportunities.
But isn't it funny? Like every time they ask about his round, Scotty always refers to him saying that he kept him in a good headspace is the way he describes it. So that you can tell, like we were asking Roy about, what people require of their caddy. Like it's just like he used to help line up the putts. He doesn't do that anymore. That was one of the things that changed this year with Scotty, but it's just about sort of keeping him sort of present in the moment and relaxed, I think is the biggest, and confident.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't want to speak fully on it because I don't know the whole thing, but I saw a little clip on Twitter X that Ted Scott said once he hits like 10 consecutive like shots on the green or something like that, then they look at each other like that's 10, that's go time. And that's when we seen like Scotty's fist pump. Did you guys see this at all or no?
No. Well, I did see him go like 6 because that was his 6th hole out of the season. And they apparently have a bet going, I think, of how many that he can do. So I did see that.
There's something along those lines that I saw. I didn't know if you guys picked up on it, but so that just speaks to, like that camaraderie that they have and the banter, not just being like, play golf, do this, do that. We do have to talk about, Scotty, the big thing about him was like, hey, all the players were saying if he gets his putting under control, then he's good. And obviously we saw it happen. He went from that Scotty blade. He switched to that TaylorMade, like, what was it? The Spider Proto or whatever at the FedEx. And then he went back to the blade. And then we saw last week at the Arnold Palmer, he went back to now the TaylorMade Spider Tour X Mallet. So I'm sure they're selling out crazy in stores right now. But at last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess now at the Arnold Palmer on Sunday, he led the field in strokes gained putting and then won by 5. And then we saw him this week. The putter is just finally flowing. Like
we're getting close to Scotty versus the field, right?
Yeah.
Like Tiger was there.
I think we're there.
Rory was there for a while.
The number for the Masters is plus 450.
Yeah,
I saw that. Is this like the greatest stretch of golf? When we're looking at like Tiger, we could look at Spieth. Like, I think he's making a good case for. He's playing some G right now.
And we talked about it last week. He's very comfortable at certain spots. He's now got 2 players, 2 Arnold Palmers, 2 Phoenix Opens, the Masters coming up, which how can you not take him for the Masters if he's available for a one and done? How do you not do it?
Yeah.
And then he won the match play, which they no longer play. But now he's not won a tournament on the PGA Tour after the Masters.
Wow.
Okay. So he's an early season spring guy at this point. Now, he'll be playing at the Memorial, the U.S. Open, PGA, and all that, but he hasn't yet not won on the PGA Tour after the Masters.
Interesting. Yeah. Another thing I saw on Twitter is, and I'm pretty sure that it's up to date, but he is now 105 under par for the year.
Jeez.
Wow.
So maybe he trends past April. We'll see.
Yeah. We brought up some of the other guys, right? We talked about Xander. The T2s were Wyndham, Xander, and Harmon. Fitzpatrick at a 5 kind of flew under the radar all week. T6 you had Siwoo and Matsuyama. At 8 you had Albert, and then T9 Maverick McNeely again gets in the top 10, and Thigala who looked like
he's
he was
always
make a
seems
run.
to be around, man. He's hanging around.
Yep.
And great stuff. Just sneaking under there. Yeah. Well, can we talk real quick? I know, Harry, you probably know these. The Wyndham Clarke shots from the rough, like that one shot on 9. Like I don't even know like what that move was, but he dug one out of that deep rough. He stuck it to like 15 feet, and then that shot on the first hole on I think it was Sunday from the rough again, and stuck it to like 4 feet. Like that rough was like
when you get down inside those moguls, it's where the water collects and the rough gets really, really deep. He was in there a few times.
But that just that move. But such control. It's just athleticism, I guess. I don't know how many other guys can hit that shot from there.
Yeah, listen, great Players Championship. We took a week off in our DraftKings contest, so I felt like there was going to be a letdown with that, but we'll get back there. One and done, Harry. I actually went with Keegan Bradley this week in the one and done.
Did you?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like him.
It's a lot of people are thinking he's going to have a big week. But back to Scotty, 118 events so far on the PGA Tour for him. He's made 99 cuts out of 118 events. When he makes the cut, top 10 half the time, 49 top 10s out of 99. So
Stop.
it's amazing.
Moly.
Just tremendous.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he claimed the record tying for obviously the purses are higher, but record tying prize money payout of 4.5 million. He's the 15th golfer to break the 50 million mark on the PGA Tour.
Wow.
And he's the fastest
Already.
to break that $50 million barrier, doing it in 113 starts.
Wow. And that bear of a 14th hole summed up Rory McIlroy for the week. Because I pay attention to this stuff. 2 birdies and 2 double bogeys in the 4 rounds. I mean, he had 26 birdies. I think he was second in the field in birdies next to Sam Ryder, who I believe had 27 for the week. 26 birdies, and he finished T19 at 9 under par.
I mean, he had a great first round, but then after that, it was kind of.
It's funny too. Like with Scotty, like I don't see him going out and buying a Lamborghini. Right?
No.
Like the money, like he seems like it's great, but he's going to have a great life with his family. But
he's so nonchalant when he talks
so
about
level.
it. Yeah, he was saying he's like if
Ted
I came,
helps. I think Ted
he's
helps.
like if I came home and I was saying to my wife, like, look at my trophies and look what I just won. He goes, she'd slap me upside the head.
Yeah, Meredith.
Meredith. Yeah, it was funny because he's like, she doesn't care. It's like at home, this is who I am. I hang out with my buddies. He's like, we don't talk about like, hey, he's like, if I won a tournament or if I didn't, it is what it is.
Yeah,
it probably helps.
Super likable. It's funny too because they talk. I don't know if it was Wyndham or it was Xander or whatever. Like, did you see what Scotty was doing? He goes, I made the turn. I looked up and I was like, of course, of course, right? Like here he comes. Right? Like we talked about that rearview mirror. It's got to be an uncomfortable feeling.
Or like what Roy was saying when Rory shows up, you're like, oh, okay. People used to say like, when Tiger shows up, you're like, all right, well, let's try for second.
Let's go for second.
Speaking of Meredith, though, my wife looked at me on Sunday night and said, yeah, she hit the lottery. And looked right at me.
Wow. But listen, great Players Championship. Danielle, some tea to spill for the folks this week?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we talked about the Masters right around the corner. John Rahm's Masters Club dinner menu has been released. A lot of comments, people saying this might be the top, if not a top 3. So did you guys get a chance to check it out?
I did.
I couldn't pronounce anything on it.
I was like you. I was like, you know what? I have a screenshot of this menu, but I don't even know if I'm going to get.
Well, I had just gone to Amada. The great folks at Ocean Casino, our buddy Frank Rocco, we've had in the podcast. They were gracious enough to host us for a dinner at Amada, and it's the tapas Spanish menu. So I saw some things that like still don't know what they mean, but I'm like, oh, I saw that.
So then I have to ask you because the comments were saying the dessert, oh my goodness, my Espanol is no bueno. Mil hojas.
Just read the bottom part. Just read the bottom description.
Puff pastry cake, custard, and Chantilly cream. People said if you haven't tried this, like you need to. And they said like there's not going to be many plates with any remainders on it. So I thought that was pretty cool. But we'll just quick do a swing it and ding it edition. What would be? Just give us either an entree, an app, or a dessert. What would you guys have on your Masters menu?
Man,
oh boy.
Just one of them.
I mean, I would actually have to have some sort of, I don't know, maybe some exotic fish. I really love fish.
Okay.
Because everybody's
they were talking about the fish on Rahm's menu. They said a lot of guys are just going to go with the ribeye, but they shouldn't. They should go with that fish.
Yeah, there's the 2 entrees. You have the option, I guess. I would just take both. Can't you just have both?
Yeah,
I'm sure you can, Harry.
I would if you have a green jacket. I'm sure you can get whatever you want.
Yeah.
I might have to go on the other side of my heritage. We talked about the Irish side. I might have to go on the Italian side. I might have to
chicken parm.
No, not chicken parm, Danielle. Come on, that's not true Irish. Come on. I'd have to go with something more authentic. But
what are we doing?
I don't know. I don't know what that would be. It would have to be some sort of a good pasta dish.
Maybe we could get a good Twitter thread going of what would be on your Masters menu.
Yep.
And see what some people say. But sticking on go ahead.
No, but that wine cellar that they apparently have at the Masters is unbelievable. And I can just imagine, the Riojas or the Spanish Reds that are going to be flowing that night. I mean,
you even need to eat dinner. You just
exactly. Just give me some tapas and give me a lot of that wine.
It's funny.
That's my menu.
I don't know if you guys saw JT was on Spit and Chicklets podcast with Paul Bissonnette, and they're talking about Augusta, and JT was like, as many times as I've been there, he goes, I think about it, like, I don't think if I've seen a squirrel. And Biz was like, they're killing the squirrels there. He's like, it's like an alternate universe. He's like, it just is
funny.
He said, think about it. That tree fell down during the, one of the rounds. And they said
yeah.
a couple hours later, you couldn't have it. You didn't see a trace that there was a tree ever there.
Right.
It's
They
like
moved
the
that
Truman
like
Show. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
There's no
wild though.
pivots.
I didn't see him on Spinning Chicklets, but honestly, like, have you seen a squirrel? Like,
No.
they're probably just they have like AI birds flying through. Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, no, sticking on topic of John Rahm, a quote came out for everyone who said this was going to be easy, meaning his leave from the PGA Tour heading over to LIV. He said, not being able to defend titles that I want to defend. He said it hasn't been easy. He mentioned, Riviera, Hawaii, hard not being at the Phoenix Open. So not saying that he's regretting the move, but
fear of missing out.
Yeah. And I guess like that's where I think kind of we share those same thoughts in the beginning is like just the history and everything of the PGA Tour and not being able to defend certain titles or do what Chef just did, go back to back at the Players or have this, competitiveness of, waiting to see if you're going to win. It's team golf. Yes, there is an overall winner, but I think it's just, I think that's what Rahm is refraining to when he's saying like, you said it'd be easy, but it's hard and it's not an easy transition.
Yeah. The Fried Egg guys said that he has major FOMO right now because he sees what Scotty's doing. And it's like, he knows he's the clear cut number one. And it's like, I'm not really sure where my game is at because I'm not playing against that guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Definite FOMO. Staying on the topic of LIV, PIF negotiations in the Bahamas. Tiger and other PGA Tour players in Saudi Arabia. PIF boss Yasir met in the Bahamas on Monday for a board meeting. Was originally supposed to be in Florida, but they headed to the Albany resort where Tiger hosts his tournament. It was great. Twitter had planes being tracked. Assumptions were pouring out all over all this big hype. And no news again.
Nothing.
Nope.
No new news since last June when it started. The target date was December 31st, 2023 to complete a deal. Key takeaways, if you want to call them key takeaways during the session, and these come from Jay. During the session, Yasir had the chance to introduce himself to our player directors and talk through the vision, priorities, and motivations for investing in professional golf, Monahan said, continuing a quote, as we continue these discussions with the PIF, we will keep you updated as much as possible, but please understand we need to maintain our position of not conducting negotiations in public. To that end, we will provide no further comments to the media at this time. So, okay, what are you doing in private and why is it taking so long?
Yeah.
Would like to highlight, we briefly touched on this last week with like Lucas Glover coming out and, some of the things that he was saying about the elevated fields, and he's kind of been on both sides. I think he's a good person to kind of speak for, both sides of the players on the PGA Tour. But his question for Jay Monahan, why are the signature events max 80 players and only 50 make the cut? But our biggest signature event next week, this was previous, is 144 players with a full cut, the signature event. So it's very, he told Adam Shupak, goodness, it's very mind blowing that our biggest signature event has the most players and the biggest cut. So it's kind of taking away from what they said with these elevated events. So interested to see if there's going to be any change, if there is any negotiations. But I don't know. We saw, this week, obviously, it was a bunch of kind of superstars, fighting for the end. But I think the contrast between like these superstars and, the guys who are, grinding to make the cut, I think is a kind of a fun element to have and it's kind of needed.
I agree.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And if it weren't for Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and the Arnold Palmer people, there wouldn't be cuts in those events either. Now I know it's a smallish cut, at least for Tiger's event and Arnold's. I don't know what Jack's is, where you're going down to 50 some guys and 10 shots to the lead and all that. Doesn't end up cutting a lot of guys, but if it weren't them standing up for cuts, they wouldn't exist in those events at all.
Yeah.
And
then one last little fun note. I'm looking at my phone and I see this notification on Twitter come up and it's like Ricky Fowler's outburst. I'm like, what? Ricky Fowler and outburst? No way. So I look at it and it was hilarious. I guess some guys were like heckling him on his tee shot and he literally just got frustrated. And all he did was he goes, you, he just pointed and that was his big outburst. So the most emotion we've probably seen from a Ricky Fowler outburst, but it was funny. The clickbait, I bought it. I clicked on it and I was like, what did Ricky do? And he literally just shouted at the guy, you.
Wow.
Did you guys see that clip?
No, I didn't see it. Yeah, I gotta find
it
it.
was funny. I'll send it to you. But, and then after you hear the crowd too, like, oh, that a boy, Ricky. And, all the kind of banter. But, it's cool when they act like humans and show a little emotion out there.
A little, but he's so conscious of the brand that he doesn't want to sully it by cursing out in public at people. You know what I mean? Like, think about that. He's always thinking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's got to be tough weighing on you. So that's why we got just a you.
Love it. Good stuff. All right, so let's take a look at the Valspar real quick. The Copperhead course at Innisbrook. You have JT, Spieth, Harmon, Xander playing in it. Harry, we might get some weather. It looks like this compared to last week. Looks like we might get some high winds.
Yeah, on Friday especially. I think.
Yeah.
I'm actually heading down to that area. For the week too, but because I know Friday's going to be a bad weather day.
Are you going to the tournament?
No, I don't think we're going to head down. That's about 45 minutes away, and I'm with my mom who's almost 82, and I don't think she's going to want to go walk the rolling hills of Copperhead course at Innisbrook. But I mean, this is a great event. They got a great field this year. A lot of times this event kind of gets passed over because it used to sit in between the players and the match play, and guys knew like, hey man, I got to play in the match play and I might have to play 5, 6, 7 rounds of golf depending on how far I go, so I'm skipping the Valspar. Well, now they've got a pretty darn good field. Par 71, 7,300 yards, Bermuda grass fairways and greens with, the rye overseas, which is going to make it, pop really green, rolling terrain, tree line, numerous water hazards, smallish greens and thick rough, and the snake pit, which is, you talk about the bear trap. Well, they've got the snake pit, as you can see behind me. It's the closing 16, 17, and 18. 16th hole is one of the hardest holes they play on the PGA Tour throughout the entire season. It's called Moccasin. A par 4, they can stretch this out to about 475 yards, narrow fairway with water all down the right side, trees all down the left. It's a dog leg right. A lot of guys will hit 3-wood because they can move that. They can move a 3-wood a little bit easier than driver, and you don't get down into that deep area where it gets really tight. But they'll have a long second shot to an elevated green. It plays one of the most difficult on the course. And like I said, a 4.3 scoring average is one of the most difficult they'll play all year. Then you go to the par 3 17th, which is Rattler. 215 yards, par 3 with a large green with a narrow front opening. But it's uphill, and it's really well guarded by bunkers. If you miss the green, you're going to probably make bogey. The closing hole, Copperhead, 450-yard par 4, uphill, with 2 large fairway bunkers on the left. And then they've got like 4 on the right that almost look like church pews, but they're not kind of the finely manicured church pews. They're a little looser, if you will. And then they've got a couple more up by the green, a big tiered green, which is offset to the left. Great finishing hole. The scores the scores have been single digits at this place. I mean, this has been so tough. You had a lot of multiple winners. Paul Casey has won here a few times, and he won at 8 under par and 10 under par a few years ago. Sam Burns has 2 wins here back to back. He made it to 17 under par both years. Last year, Taylor Moore, 10 under. I mean, this place plays really tough, and Moose, they get the weather that you're talking about. It'll play even tougher.
Yep, no doubt about it. So we'll take a look. Let's see with our friends from DraftKings as we see the line. And the PGA Tour is in full swing, so get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting operator of the PGA Tour. This week, new customers can turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets. When you look at the board, Xander pops up at plus 650. Sam Burns, who's won twice here, at 1,400. JT, 1,400. I might have to see a win from JT before I go down that road again. Jordan at 1,800. So make sure you check out DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code DING, D-I-N-G. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code DING. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 days after issuance. See dkng.com/T for deposit wagering, eligibility restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Talked about Keegan.
Yep.
Sam Burns is tempting, but I don't know if his game's there right now.
Mm-hmm.
How about 8 of the 9 past winners have had at least a top 10 this season? So, got to
be playing well. Yeah.
Yep. I do like Keegan at that 4,000 number. I could see a guy like Harmon just not even caring, letting last week roll off his back at 2,200 and getting the win.
Mm-hmm.
I like Doug Gim a little further down the board. He's got a T16, a T16, and a T8 here. So I could see him making a move. I also like Minwoo Lee at 3,000. Does Xander get his first win? I don't know. I might put him in the JT category where I gotta see it first. But further down would be for me Sam Ryder at 9,000. He's got a T16 and a T21 here, playing really good golf. Even in the top 10, you can get him at 800. So that's how I see the line.
All right, I'm taking a couple matchups here to start. Nick Taylor -115 over Adam Hadwin. Your boy Harmon -140 over Minwoo Lee. I don't like laying 140, but I actually disagree about the Minwoo. I don't think this golf course really sets up that great for his game, but I'm going to take in Rio Hisatsun. Say that 3 times fast. -115 over Billy Horschel, who's not really, his game is not together right now. Nick Taylor is my one and done pick. Taking him +360 in a top 10 as well. And Adam Schenk, who finished second here last year, and finished T20 in the Players. So he's coming off a good week. He's got 7 top 10s from last year till now. I'm taking him in a top 20 at +260. Mav McNeely, based on last week, I think he keeps it going. He also had a 6th at Phoenix. +140 for a top 30. I mean, I'm taking that. And Matthew Neesmith, who's way down the board, but finished 26th last week at the Players. He was 3rd here in 2022, 21st here in 2021, and he's +210 for a top 30. I'll take that.
See, we talked about those guys sneaking up there. Like, I had no idea what Matt did last week.
Yeah. Danielle, no Scheffler on the board for you this week.
No.
Sorry.
Yes, no Scheffler.
Have to dig a little deeper.
Yeah. Oh wait, so we are having
No. We
fantasy
are.
this
We
week?
are.
Oh,
We are.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did see what I mean. I like this in Florida on DraftKings. I can't do matchups. I can only do the fantasy. But I did like Straka over Berger because I think Berger, he played all right, decent coming back. But even on this Florida swing, I just there's my little contribution.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it. Well, great stuff. Thanks again to Roy Clarke from All Access International Operations Manager. Give him a follow at Roy_Clarke, like Bobby Clarke with the E on the end, 6. Great stuff. Has a great story. And check the link in our bio. Head to our portal for All Access and see if get a golf trip planned. Get one on the books. The best part about the golf trip is like the group chat. Leading up to the golf.
Oh,
trip,
yeah.
with all, with your friends and like talking about stuff. So we all love it. So take a look and do it. And we'll be back next week as we creep ever closer to the Masters, and we'll see who gets it done at Valspar. See you next week.